Hi friends, I hope you're all doing well. Today's story is a chilling tale from a man named David. Thank you so much, David, for sharing your personal experience with us. If any of you have your own ghost stories or eerie experiences that you'd like to share, feel free to message me on Instagram. My handle is right here, and I'd love to hear from you. It was an ordinary night in late autumn when David and his family moved into their new house on Maple Ridge, a quiet town nestled on the outskirts of a sprawling city. David, his younger sister Lily, their mom, and their grandfather had just made a monumental decision to leave the hustle and bustle of city life behind. They wanted a change, a new start, a quieter life away from the noise, the crowds, and the chaos. Little did they know, their peaceful retreat would soon become a source of terror. David had grown up in a small, cramped apartment in the city, but his parents had always dreamed of a house in a serene neighborhood with fresh air and open spaces. When his grandfather, an old man with an eye for detail and a deep love for architecture, found the house, David's parents didn't hesitate. The place was perfect, large, spacious, and located in a quiet cul-de-sac on the edge of town, surrounded by tall trees and lush greenery. It was the perfect home for a family that had outgrown the confines of the city. The house was 2 stories high, with a charming red brick exterior, large windows, and a beautiful garden. The first floor consisted of a living room, a kitchen, a dining room, and a small study. The second floor had 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a balcony that overlooked the garden. David could already picture the Christmas decorations hanging from the windows and the backyard filled with children's laughter. It was everything they had hoped for and more. The day the family moved in, David felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. It was a new chapter, a new beginning. He and Lily explored every corner of the house, imagining the adventures they would have in their new home. His grandfather, though, seemed oddly quiet. As they settled in, David noticed that his grandfather kept looking out the window, gazing across the street at an old, abandoned house that stood like a forgotten relic of the past. There were rumors about that house, of course. People in the neighborhood whispered about its mysterious past. It had been empty for years, the lawn overgrown with weeds, the windows boarded up. But for the most part, people kept their distance. They didn't talk about it, didn't even acknowledge its existence. Yet, as David's family unloaded their belongings, he couldn't shake the feeling that something about that house wasn't right. The first few days were blissfully uneventful. David and Lily made new friends at school, and his parents found their new jobs. His grandfather, though, spent most of his days sitting on the porch, staring across the street at the abandoned house. David had always admired his grandfather's quiet wisdom, but even he couldn't help but wonder what had drawn him to that place. One night, as the family sat down to dinner, the first strange occurrence happened. It was late, almost 10 p.m., and the sky had darkened into an inky black. They were eating quietly when suddenly they heard a faint noise coming from across the street. At first, it sounded like someone was yelling, distant and muffled, as though carried by the wind. Then it stopped. David's father, Mark, looked at his wife, Sarah. "Did you hear that?" he asked, his voice laced with concern. It sounded like someone was in trouble. Sarah looked uneasy. "It's late," she said. "Probably just some kids messing around. You should go check it out." David's dad got up, grabbing his jacket. "I'll be right back," he said, but before he could head out the door, Sarah stopped him. "Wait," she said. "Check the time. It's 3 a.m. David's father froze. 3 a.m., he repeated, glancing at the clock. Sure enough, it was 3 o'clock on the dot. The chill in the air seemed to deepen, and for a moment, the room fell silent. His father hesitated, but then shrugged. "Maybe it's nothing," he said, sitting back down. "Let's just ignore it." David and Lily exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of what to make of it. The family tried to dismiss the strange occurrence as nothing more than their imagination playing tricks on them. But as the days passed, the noises returned returned every night at the same time. Whispers, faint shouts, strange creaking sounds that seemed to come from the abandoned house across the street. They were hard to ignore. At first, they tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was just the wind, or some old pipes, or even an animal. But soon, the noise grew louder, more distinct, and more unnerving. It wasn't long before David's curiosity got the better of him. One night, when the sounds started again, he decided he would investigate. He crept downstairs, careful not to wake anyone, and peeked out the window. From his vantage point, he could see the silhouette of the old house across the street. The moonlight bathed the abandoned structure in an eerie glow, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch across the yard. David's heart pounded in his chest as he saw something move, a shadowy figure just at the edge of his vision. His breath caught in his throat. It wasn't just a trick of the light. Someone or something was in the house. His mind raced as he thought about the strange noises. Could it be that someone had broken into the house, or was something else at work here? The next morning, David told his grandfather about what he had seen. His grandfather listened carefully, his face pale. "I've heard things too," he said quietly, "and I've lived long enough to know that some things aren't easily explained." David's grandfather had always been a practical man, but there was something in his tone that made David uneasy. "What do you mean?" David asked, his voice barely above a whisper. His grandfather looked out the window at the abandoned house. "I don't know," he said, "but I have a feeling there's more to this place than meets the eye." That evening, David and his grandfather decided to investigate the house across the street. They walked over, with David's heart pounding in his chest. The gate to the property was locked, and the house looked as though it had been abandoned for years. Its windows were boarded up, and the front yard was overgrown with weeds. The place had an air of neglect, yet something about it seemed alive. They knocked on the door, but no one answered. After a few moments of silence, David's grandfather turned to him. "Let's go inside," he said, his voice low and urgent. David was taken aback. "Are you sure?" he asked. "It's locked. We can't just break in." But his grandfather was determined. "No one will know. We need to see what's inside." With a sense of unease, they made their way around to the back of the house. There, hidden behind a thick hedge, they found an unlocked door leading into the house. The air inside was musty, thick with dust, and the smell of decay. As they stepped inside, a strange chill seemed to settle over them. The house was eerily quiet, the silence oppressive. They moved through the rooms, their footsteps echoing in the emptiness. It didn't take long before they both noticed something strange. A foul, rotting smell filled the air, almost like something had died there. David gagged. "What is that smell?" he asked, his voice trembling. "I don't know," his grandfather said, frowning, "but we need to get out of here." Just as they were about to leave, David heard a strange noise, a faint scraping sound, like something moving across the floor. He turned around, but there was nothing there. His heart raced. It felt like they were being watched. They quickly left the house, locking the door behind them. As they walked back to their home, David's grandfather didn't say anything, but his face was grim. That night, the strange occurrences in the house seemed to escalate. The noises became louder and more frequent, and David couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was watching him. The whole family was on edge, but no one could explain what was happening. A few nights later, something even stranger happened. David's parents were asleep when they heard a loud bang coming from the roof. It sounded like something had fallen. They rushed outside, but there was nothing, just silence. But David's grandmother was adamant that they had to leave. "There's something in this house," she said, "something that doesn't want us here." That night, David's family decided to seek help. They called a local priest to perform a cleansing ritual, hoping to rid the house of whatever dark presence lingered there. The priest arrived the next morning, performing the ritual with prayer and incense. After the ceremony, things seemed to settle down. The strange noises stopped, and David and his family began to feel some peace. But it wasn't long before the disturbances returned. This time, the neighbors were affected, and everyone in the area noticed strange events occurring at the house. The rumors spread, and soon, David's family was not only fighting the unseen presence in the house, but also the growing fear among their neighbors. The stories of ghosts and spirits intensified, and the family decided they could no longer stay. They moved out, leaving the house behind, but David couldn't shake the memory of the figure he had seen on the roof. He never fully understood what had happened in that house, but he knew that something dark had haunted it. As time passed, David and his family moved into a new home, and they never spoke of the house on Maple Ridge again. Yet, every once in a while, when the wind howled late at night, David would remember the shadows on the roof and the haunting presence that had lingered in their old home. What happened to David's family on Maple Ridge? Was it the result of a haunting, or was it just a series of unfortunate, unexplained events? No one can say for sure, but sometimes the things we can't explain are the things that leave the deepest marks on our lives. If you have a similar story or an eerie experience to share, don't be afraid to speak up. Who knows, maybe the next time you tell your story, someone else might share theirs, and together we can uncover the mysteries of the unknown.